as they can make money off of it.
Yeah, it's the taxes. They want the taxes.
Yeah. Anyway, we're live with another episode of BS Busters. I'm joined by some of the usual suspects we have. And I'll let the lady introduce herself first. So here we go.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all ages to the BS Busters Midweek Podcast. I'm Jerry, I'm Moonstar, and 2077 actually got updates. Interesting.
Especially about Nito. They moved the sliders a little to the right.
Who did?
That's all they did.
Who moved them a little to the right?
They moved the slide. See, the thing is, when you game on consoles, you don't have control over the graphic settings or anything like that.
Not these 9th gen consoles. You do, except for the Switch. But the PS4, the PS5 and the Xbox One, you can actually go into the graphics setting and set like a performance mode versus a graphical fidelity mode. Of course, when you do that, like if you do performance mode, you're gonna have the graphics take a downgrade. If you go with graphic fidelity mode, like better graphics, the performance takes a hit. So you don't
have. I mean, yeah, you have a little more control than you used to. But it's not like you can turn VSync off or anti-aliasing or tessellation or break into the INI files to fix a game that was busted when it came out. So get on CD Projekt Red for moving the sliders a little to the right. Just maybe that should have been the game when it launched.
Yeah. I mean, basically, my argument when we get to that segment is going to be, wow, you're like, a lot of people are all ecstatic about shit that should have been there day one.
These companies need to stop getting praise for this nonsense.
They did the 1.5 patch. Okay, so this means that you're getting shit that should have been there day one. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get into these topics. First, we're going to give a proper send-off to a man who helped create a lot of our childhood. Ivan Reitman. Now, Ivan Reitman died this weekend. Ivan Reitman was a Canadian filmmaker born in 1946. Died February 12th, 2022. And he was born in Komárno, Czechoslovakia. And he died in Montecito, California. So, and this guy basically made the films that, a lot of films that basically were, I don't know about you guys, but a large part of my childhood.
What films did he make?
Oh, Lord. Okay, so here are his notable films, okay? Some of these you're probably going to be like, oh, I know that film. Okay. So he was a producer for 2 films with David Cronenberg, Shivers and Rabid. However, his big break came when he produced National Lampoon's Animal House in 1978 and Meatballs in 1979.
Oh, God.
I've heard of that first movie, but I've never seen any of those movies.
Meatballs is kind of like one of those precursors to the rated R comedy films.
Oh, okay.
Of the 80s. It was a precursor to that. It wasn't a rated R. I mean, it may have been rated R for the 70s, but it wasn't like hard R or whatever. It was more of a R comedy. Kind of like how Animal House was like a rated R. Like Animal House was like a rated R teen like the equivalent to a teen comedy.
Mm-hmm. I was saying it's more like crude comedy.
Yeah, very crude comedy, stuff like that. Then he went on to direct a string of comedies like Stripes, Ghostbusters, Legal Eagles, Twins, Ghostbusters 2, Kindergarten Cop.
Oh, no.
Dave. I like Kindergarten Cop. Dave.
I was having to remember those, and those are some of the funniest and cheesiest stuff I ever remembered.
Kindergarten Cop is one of the few. It's like basically this guy directed all of the really good Arnold Schwarzenegger comedies.
Yes, very yes. Which makes me groan when I remember them because of how funny and cheesy they sometimes get.
You know,
But they were good.
like Twins is really good. Kindergarten Cop, like I said, really good. Junior, not quite as good as the first two, but still fairly decent. And you get to see Arnold Schwarzenegger be something a little bit different than, you know, being a bitch. You know, being like I would crush you with my muscles. You know, like you get to see Arnold Schwarzenegger do. Like, here's the thing: everyone, like back in the '80s, it was always like Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Stallone. But I will tell you something about Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger can do comedy.
Yeah.
Whereas Stallone can't do comedy. Like, every Stallone comedy is a piece of shit. Like, it's terrible.
I was about to say, I'm glad I haven't watched any of those.
Oh, I mean, you probably have seen them. You just weren't laughing because they aren't funny.
At least as far as I remember.
Like, every Sylvester Stallone comedy film, like Oscar, is fucking terrible. Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, fucking terrible. You know, like the only Stallone comedy film that's kind of sort of, it's funny, but it still kind of works a little bit is Demolition Man. And Demolition Man lends more towards comedy than it does you know.
Isn't that the movie about this dystopian future?
Yeah, it's the dystopian future where everyone gave up violence. So when these criminals are thawed out, like no one knows how to deal with them. So they bring back Sylvester Stallone, the guy who put back the criminal they accidentally thawed out, because like he's from our time. He can actually deal with them. But like they aren't prepared for how dangerous these criminals are, and just things get progressively worse. Like,
yeah, Demolition Man is a domino effect of how trying to stop a villain with nonviolence can lead to a massacre of a mass.
well, I'm gonna keep it real. I hated that film when I was a kid, but now that I'm older and I've like rewatched it, it's actually like Demolition Man is a far better film than I gave it credit for when I was a kid, because I was going into it expecting to be a typical Sylvester Stallone action flick, but it's actually much better and much smarter than you might think. And it has a lot of like,
it's weirdly smart to me.
it has a lot of in jokes. Like there was the great fast food restaurant wars, which Taco Bell won.
Yeah.
So every restaurant, even if it serves something else, is a Taco Bell. I'm like, that's actually funny as hell.
Scared.
No, it's just kind of funny because there used to be price wars with the different restaurants and shit, like McDonald's versus Burger King.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's just that I like the humor about that, but it also makes me scared if Taco Bell ever wins the war of restaurants. That makes me scared of what the food will turn out to be.
If Taco Bell wins the fast food restaurant war, I am never eating fast food again. Taco Bell is ass.
Yeah, it's not good. Well, in Demolition Man, like the restaurants kept their cuisine that Taco Bell defeated during the fast food war, but they all become branded as Taco Bell. So like if you go to a KFC, it's a Taco Bell, but it serves fried chicken.
Yeah.
Like that's what happened. Like it's not like, oh my god, like they're all serving Taco Bell food. Of course, this is the future where they don't serve red meat anymore, so you wouldn't want to eat out anyway. Well, I can't get it, like, because there's a scene in Demolition Man where the guy's like, where the main character, I forgot his character's name, Stallone's character's John Steed or something like that. He's like, is that a burger? He's like, yeah. No, this is a good burger. He's like, what's this burger made out of? She's like, the lady's like, it's a rat. It's rats. It's like, it's a rat burger. No, it's good. I like it. Like, he was so desperate for a burger that he ate a rat burger. But anyway, so yeah, back to Ivan Reitman. After we went on that tangent, so Ivan Reitman. Let's see, we ended with Kindergarten Cop. Dave Jr. 6 Days, 7 Nights. Not a good film. Evolution. It was kind of like his take on Men in Black. My Super Ex-Girlfriend, surprisingly much better than you might think. And No Strings Attached, not a good movie. In the early 1990s, Reitman began to direct fewer films, but increased his role as a producer and executive producer through his company, Northern Lights Entertainment. He helped to produce the animated film Heavy Metal. That's right, that original Heavy Metal that had lots of boobs and titties and sex and violence, and was an anthology series that like basically influenced so many other anthology series after that. Ivan Reitman helped get that pushed through. The live-action Space Hunter, Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. This is one of those films that came out after Empire Strikes Back and everyone was trying to get their own Star Wars off the ground. It's a fun B-movie like that you'd watch in Mystery Science Theater 3000, but it's not a good film. But it has some really good matte paintings, though. For background. It's like, oh, this is cool. Beethoven Second.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Those films where Charles Grodin's kids adopt that big ass dog that destroys his fucking house. Yeah. Like I was one of those people that used to see that film because they'd show it when I was in aftercare, when I was in grade school, and I was the one who hated that dog. So I'm like everyone's like, oh well, this man's angry because this dog's destroying his house. I'm like, yeah, dog's fucking destroying his house. Shit, he has the right to be pissed.
Yeah, among other things. Because that dog gets into anything.
And then in the sequel, the dog meets a female dog and has puppies, and the shit gets worse. He also helped create another film of our childhood, Space Jam.
Everybody get up. It's time to jam now. Oh, God.
You know what's sad?
Back in my head again.
The 96 Space Jam is terrible. It's still better than the new one that came out with LeBron James.
I remember...
I'll give that movie one thing. At least the voice acting for the cartoons is pretty decent.
Yeah, and it had Lola Bunny.
Everything else,
it had the hot Lola Bunny, and I'll always give it credit for hot Lola Bunny over.
Service.
I mean, like, here's the thing: Looney Tunes characters, even Bugs Bunny in drag for like most of his iterations back in the day when he was in drag, he was always hot. They've always been hot. Why the fuck would you make the female versions of characters not hot to appeal? It's like, well, we can't make them hot anymore. Look, animators are horny. Animators are horny.
Not these animators.
I was trying to say, really, some people took the horny out of animation.
Yeah, I mean, you know how they got rid of Pepe Le Pew, and I'm like, how the fuck did you get rid of Pepe Le Pew, but you've got fucking other characters. It was just weird. But anyway, so back to Ivan Reitman. Let's see what else. He also helped produce and executive produce Howard Stern's film Private Parts, Road Trip, Old School, Euro Trip, and Trailer Park Boys the movie. I've seen all of these. Some of them are good, some of them not so good.
I haven't.
Private Parts is basically based on the book that Howard Stern did. It's a fictionalized version of Howard Stern, how he became Howard Stern. Road Trip's actually a really funny, R-rated comedy. Old School, come on, it's Old School. You know that film with Paul Rudd and.
I get what you're saying. I'm just trying to think of if I've seen it or not, and I don't remember seeing it. Well,
anyway. It's one of those films. And And then Euro Trip's not as good as Road Trip. I'll be honest with you. And Trailer Park Boys, the movie's actually pretty good. I mean, you have to be a fan of Trailer Park Boys, and I'm kind of like a casual fan. Like, I've seen a few Trailer Park Boys episodes. I'm like, what I saw was okay. I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it, but, you know. If I had nothing else to watch, I'd watch Trailer Park Boys. But anyway, so, and then he did, I Love You, Man, starring Paul Rudd and Jason Segel. He produced the Academy Award nominated film Up in Air. He also planned to direct the erotic thriller Chloe, but he couldn't attract the cast, so he finally decided to serve as a producer. Then he also co-produced a biographical film based on called Hitchcock, I guess based on Alfred Hitchcock. He served as an executive producer on 2021 Space Jam: New Legacy. That's hilarious. Like, Ivan Reitman helped make the better Space Jam. That's hilarious. And let's see. Some unmade projects. Ivan Reitman was going to make a Batman movie, and he was gonna cast Bill Murray as Batman, David Niven as Alfred Pennyworth, and William Holden as Commissioner James Gordon, with singer David Bowie as the Joker.
Interesting.
Now, I'll be honest with you. If you've seen pictures of David Bowie in like the 80s, he could have totally pulled off playing the Joker. Like, that would have been a really fucking weird looking Joker, though. But the Joker's always weird, so, you know.
No kidding.
Yeah. He also was going to make a Wonder Woman film, but that didn't happen. In 2000, he was in the running to make Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, but it went to Chris Columbus instead. In March 2012, he was going to make a sequel to Twins called Triplets, but that never got off the ground. He was going to make a sequel to Evolution, but they couldn't get it. And then he was going to produce an animated series for Ghostbusters called Ecto Force. But, you know, the guy died and shit happened. But basically, you know, his last role where he was a producer was on Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm glad the man got to be a part of something good, you know, before he died.
Yeah, that was a good movie. I saw that movie today.
Yeah.
That was the Ghostbusters 3 we should have got.
Yeah. The sad thing about Ghostbusters Afterlife is that we should have gotten it in 2016, but his vision got stolen from him by Sony and Amy, whatever her fucking name is, over at Sony, and gave it to Paul Feig so they could make that fucking abomination, Ghostbusters 2016.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed that movie.
Oh yeah.
But I guess my only problem with it is I watched it in HDR, and one of the things about HDR, while the contrast is really good, when you have a dark scene, it gets really dark. Like it's too. They need to figure out how to balance that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the way that particular movie was shot, or if that's a problem with a lot of HDR movies.
It could be an issue with. It could be that just Sony didn't put the money to really balance out the color contrast for HDR. Yeah. I don't know. It's Sony, dude. Sony's weird like that.
But I really enjoyed the story. The characters were pretty cool. The girl kind of reminds me of I don't know if you I remember this character somewhat, but Daria.
Yeah.
Her nonchalant attitude towards things.
Well, I mean, my only flaws with Ghostbusters Afterlife is it's very predictable. Like, from the
Yeah,
opening of it, you know what's going on. You know who's who. You know. But, I mean, here's the thing. I'm a Ghostbusters fan. I don't want any weird shit. I just want a Ghostbusters film. Don't be doing no weird shit. It's like Ghostbusters, Star Wars, Star Trek. Don't be doing weird shit to my favorite franchises. Just give me what I want.
Yeah, I think that's what people wanted, though. They wanted a Ghostbusters movie, and they
Don't
didn't
be-
get it 2016.
Yeah, like in 20. Well, they tried to. They basically made all female comedy with some gross out humor, and they were like, "Yeah, this is going to be your new Ghostbusters movie." But people were like, This doesn't feel like a Ghostbusters movie," because all the other Ghostbusters shit was connected to Ivan Reitman, his production company, and people that had been working on that for years. And so now you have some people who have never been working on it. And the new Ghostbusters, the 2016 reboot, didn't felt fuck all like Ghostbusters. Like, only tangentially did it feel like Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a lot of the original cast just fucking showing up, not even as themselves. You know?
Yeah.
And it was like, y'all gonna do this? For real?
Yeah.
I mean, and
I was
yeah,
gonna say this makes me almost wanna look at the Star Wars trilogy from Disney to get that out of my mouth.
well, it's the same fuck up, because if they had made this earlier, you could have had the original Ghostbusters while everyone was alive, like come together, and we'll never get that in Star Wars. We'll never get a scene where we have Han, Leia, Luke, Chewie. Like, you're never gonna have all those people back together again. Like,
Yeah.
and you're never gonna have that. You're never gonna get it because Carrie Fisher's dead. Like, she's dead. Like, you're never gonna get Egon, Ray, Watson, Winston, Peter. You're never gonna have all of them together because Harold Ramis is dead. Like, that's an opportunity you're never. It's like there's some shit you can do in a relationship you can never come back from. Right? Like once you do it, that there's always going to be that hole in the relationship because you have shit the bed on that one. It's never we're never going to get that. So no matter what Star Wars does, they're never going to be able to fix that shit. You know? And that's sad. I mean, that's what really hurts. That's why, like, now everyone's like, "Oh, Star Wars." I'm like, I don't give a shit. You know, because we're never going to get that. Instead, we got the character assassination of Luke Skywalker. We got the casual disregard of Luke and Leia's relationship. Like, literally, her husband just died. Her husband just fucking died. And she's comforting some bitch she never met. That's in the first movie. She's never met this girl. She's comforting her when her husband just died. Her son killed her husband. I mean, seriously. This is the shit we're dealing with in Star Wars. Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck that series. I'm sorry. Fuck Disney Star Wars. Fuck it. Fuck it up there after the rubber dick.
As I said, with how bad the Ghostbusters 2016 was, it almost made me want to watch that to get the taste of that out of my mouth.
Yeah, but the difference is that Ghostbusters 2016 is one bad movie. You still have a mountain of good Ghostbusters content. You still have Ghostbusters 1. You still have Ghostbusters 2. You have the real Ghostbusters. You have the extreme Ghostbusters. You have the comic books. You have the novels that expand the lore. You have all this other outlet of good Ghostbuster content. Star Wars, you've got the original trilogy, which is great. You've got some games, some of which are great, some of which are trash, some of which are mediocre. You've got comics, some of which are good, some of which are shit. You've got the second trilogy, the prequel trilogy. I would say overall, I would give them a C. Some parts of those films are great. Some parts of it are trash. But overall, it's a C. Then you've got the Disney trilogy, which I give a D bordering on an F.
Yeah, it's just that this is one reason why I was saying that I was tempted to watch the Disney trilogy to try to get the taste of 16 out of my mouth, but then
The Disney trilogy's worse than 2016.
yeah, that's
So
thing.
that's like saying I'm gonna get the bad taste of this medicine out of my mouth by taking a bite out of shit. Because that's what the Disney. Look, the medicine might be bad, but the shit's worse.
Yeah, that's the thing. When two bad things are seen, it kind of feels like you can't win either way.
You know, it's like that old joke. Your mom was cooking so bad when you feed it to the dog licks its ass to get the taste of your mom's cooking out of its mouth. It's like shit. That's terrible. But yeah, Ivan Reitman is one of the great directors who created a lot of our childhood, and I thought we should give our props to him. You know, like he just really helped create a lot of
Our memories.
stuff. Like the shit that we grew up with, he helped to create.
Yeah.
You know? And
yeah, he's gonna be missed by some people.
yeah. Now he died in his sleep in his home is Montecito, California. And 75. Kind of did not look bad towards the end of his life. I mean, he kind of looked bad towards the end of his life. He did not look like he was living a healthy life. But I guess he was partying in the 70s. I guess. I don't know. But anyway.
I like how they handled the... Because I think one of the Ghostbusters characters died in real life, right?
Yeah, Harold Ramis, the guy who played Egon, died. So so Ivan Reitman played the CGI version of Egon in Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is why I said it's a good thing that he managed to be part of a good Ghostbusters property before he died, because that 2016, I mean, whether you agree, I think Ghostbusters is an enjoyable series. I don't agree with all of its anti-government, pro-business messaging, because in the first movie they try to make Mr. Peck seem like he's a villain, but if you're with the EPA and someone said we have a business where we're basically taking what we claim is harmful material and storing it, and you can't see our storage facility, I mean, your job as a regulatory agency is that you have to know what the fuck is going on, because that's shady as fuck. And they try to make, oh, you're a villain because the man's doing his job? What the fuck is wrong with you? Not to mention Peter Venkman fucking egged the man on when he should have just been forthwith with what was going on. But, I mean, aside from that, Ghostbusters is a really good series, and to see what is essentially one of your this man is one of the babies of this series, and seeing it get carted over to an unworthy successor who fucks it up. I mean, because Ghostbusters 2016 was as far as being a comedy, it wasn't really that funny. Parts of it were funny. I will give Paul Feig credit. Parts of even films that I don't like Bridesmaids, but there are parts of Bridesmaids that are funny. There are parts of Ghostbusters 2016 that are funny, but overall the film did not feel like a Ghostbusters movie. Yeah, it felt like I was watching something else. It's like Star Trek, the Star Trek reboot that J.J. Abrams did, where I'm like, this is nice, but it's not a Star Trek movie. That's basically how Ghostbusters 2016 felt. My only flaw with Afterlife is that the last act of it is literally a shot-for-shot redo of the original Ghostbusters. Yeah. That, I was like, y'all could have been clever with that ending, but fuck it. I'll take it.
Except Except the giant marshmallow.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like in terms of them
marshmallow.
having to fight Gozer and Zool, like it's literally it's like, come on, man, really? You're gonna do Gozer and Zool again? The only thing that would have made it worse is if they'd had like Winston be like, Ray, like they did in the original Ghostbusters, are you a god? Well, actually, no. Ray, if someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. You always say yes. like, like that's the like I think the original Ghostbusters is funnier. The new Ghostbusters had to be more meme worthy. I think the original Ghostbusters is funnier just because it's paced a little bit better. I think like a lot of people hate on Ghostbusters 2, but I think Ghostbusters 2 is
I don't think it was as bad as people made it out to be.
No, I think that was the only logical place you could take it. The only logical place you could take it is, okay, they stay in New York, the city sues them for the damage, which makes perfect sense because it's New York City. It's 1980s New York City. Of course, the city's gonna fucking sue their asses for damages, and they have to, and they're broke. They have to go. They have to do side hustles to stay afloat. That makes perfect sense.
I kind of like movies like where where shit gets destroyed
And there's consequences.
and there's consequences for it.
Yeah, and that's what happened in Ghostbusters. That's what happened in Ghostbusters 2. Like the ending of Ghostbusters 1, they save the city, they fight the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and blow him up and cover the city with marshmallow goo. They blow up the top of a skyscraper and they get sued by the city. It makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why I know a lot of people didn't like this movie, but you know, that's kind of why I liked that's one of the elements of Hancock that I like.
Oh yeah, there are consequences to his actions. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the problem with Hancock for me is two things. First of all, you know, it dealt with the casual Hollywood racism, so you couldn't have they would not show Will Smith fucking a hot Charlize Theron in her prime. They just weren't going to show that because Hancock was originally supposed to be R-rated.
Oh.
And they were like, no, we can't have Will Smith be in an R-rated film. And I'm like, I mean, that would have made Hancock so much better if it was really, if they had been able to really be gritty, it would have been great. But, you know, they fucked that up because they were like, no, we got to make him to a good guy in the end. We got to make him,
Was Hancock an original Hollywood IP or was it?
No, it was original Hollywood IP.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like, the premise behind it, okay, we have a superhero who is just, like, he is not happy with his fucking life. And he's like, it shows the damages that he would do and how he just fucks people up. He's like, I'm going to shove your head up that guy's ass. And he does it. Like, that would kill someone. If someone shoves a dude's head up someone's ass, you would die.
I was going to say, the person that gets the stuffing gets destroyed.
Yeah, the person who would get stuffed, whose head is stuffed up someone's ass would die. Plus, the person who had the head stuffed up their ass, you would either die or require so many surgeries it wouldn't even be worth it. Like you'd just be fucked. So I mean, Hancock could have been better if it had been allowed to be rated R. If the casual Hollywood racism hadn't been there, and they could have like actually gone as deep as like, because the whole point of Hancock is that like there used to be these godlike immortals, but like male and female, and then once they found each other, they would fuck and turn mortal. Like that's the thing. If they stay together, they turn mortal, and fuck they become mortal. And so that's why Hancock and Charlize Theron's character in Hancock, like basically when they got close to each other, they start they basically were each other's kryptonite. And that's why at the end of the movie, he's like, well, you found happiness with this guy and his family, so I'm going to stay away from you and let you be happy while I be miserable, like pretending to be a superhero. Like it was like the third act of that film is just like, if y'all had just had the grit to actually make this R-rated, this would have been such a better movie because y'all wouldn't have had to write yourself into circles in order to make everyone have a happy feeling ending.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you ain't gonna have a happy ending.
Yeah.
You know, you want a happy ending? Go watch Superman 1 and 2. Because those films have happy endings. As they should, because no one wants to fucking see a Superman movie where Superman destroys half a city and then makes out with his girlfriend on the rubble. Except for Zack Snyder and his fanboys.
I was about to say, and how much of fan base does Zack Snyder have to make that happen?
It's a huge fan base. These are the people who say that the Justice League 4-hour cut is great.
Oh,
I mean, haven't you been on the
I saw
podcast
part
where I
of-
got cursed out and called names because I said that those Zack Snyder films are fucking trash?
I saw part of that. A good like hour, probably hour and a half, hour 45 minutes of that cut. That was some grade A shit. That was terrible.
What, the Zack Snyder cut
Yeah,
of Justice
I'm
League?
gonna.
yeah, that was bad.
I'll be honest. The original cut was terrible, but oh god.
Yeah, the Zack Snyder cut's worse because it's 4 hours. The original cut is like a little under 2, and you at least have Superman doing Superman shit. The 4-hour cut is just it's an hour and a half a movie and 2.5 hours of Zack Snyder masturbating in slow motion. Because that's what it is. It's like, oh, here's a new character. Okay, slow motion. Ah! Hand me the lube. I'm gonna undo my pants. I'm Zack Snyder. Slow motion. It's like, dude, stop. Just stop. Stop with
I
the
was
slow
only
motion.
saying that as much as I appreciate that we get more movie, you need something to fill it with.
No, if you're gonna do a 4+ hour cut of a movie, it better be a damn good movie, like The Godfather.
Yeah, and I was
Godfather
gonna
Part
say there's
2.
few movies that actually go beyond 2 hours.
Apocalypse Now. No, Endgame Endgame. The two Avengers movies did. Like all the Avengers movies went over 2 hours. Like you have to be a really good movie to have over a 2-hour cut. The original
Yeah.
the director's cut of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is over like almost 3 hours
I was
long.
saying that usually I was saying that it's rare to see some movies go over 2 hours, and usually there's something in those over 2 hour movies.
Yeah, you have to be a really good director for your film to be allowed to be put in a format where it's that fucking long. And Zack Snyder ain't that good. None of his movies are that good where I would want to see that much of it. I'm like, nah, bruh, you.
Yeah.
Even like I've seen the director's cut of Jaws, and I love Jaws. And even the director's cut of that is a little too long for me. And I love Jaws.
Yeah. I mean, the only movie that I think that actually tried to get away with being so long that was a snore at times, but also had some kind of entertainment. I think that's Titanic.
I've seen Titanic. I never thought that movie was
At
that
least
good.
it's a guess.
No, a lot of people like Titanic, but I'm not one of them. The only James Cameron film where I've seen the director's cut and I was like, I actually like the longer version of this is The Abyss. And that's because I like the special effects of The Abyss. Because James Cameron's really good at special effects, nothing else. He's like Ridley Scott. Like Ridley Scott is really good at special effects and like the cinematography, but like if you ask him to create compelling characters, he fucking can't do it to save his life, or a script that makes a fucking sense. He can't do it.
That Avatar movie does not hold up. I've seen
No, it didn't
I've
hold
seen,
up when it came out. Shit.
Well, I've heard from people that wasn't particularly a great movie. People who are really into movies, but like looking at clips from it now, it's just like, ugh, this looks bad.
The whole hook of that movie was the special effects.
Yeah,
That's all it was. It was just a whole bunch of special effects.
like don't get me wrong, there are CGI movies that came out several years ago that still hold up, but Avatar,
I mean, CGI movies that are highly stylized, but the problem with Avatar is that they're trying to do Uncanny Valley and create realistic aliens and shit. and it's trying too hard to make shit look lifelike, and it doesn't work. Like the Lego movies Lego Batman holds up a lot better than Avatar, because Lego Batman, you're just seeing toys move around. That's it.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah. Or, other fantasy creatures like Shrek.
Yeah.
Moving around. They're not real, but yeah.
It's not real, but it's like you acknowledge that it isn't real, so it doesn't bother you that it doesn't look perfect. Whereas Avatar, they're trying to create a world that's like they show the humans look semi-real life-like, and it's like, that's just that it's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to fucking the planet Pandora with their unobtainium and all that shit, and it's like, this is just no.
Yeah, I already saw this movie. It's called Dances with Wolves.
No, it's called Pocahontas. It's Pocahontas. It's literally Pocahontas. Dances with Wolves is a good movie too. Especially if you can, Kevin Costner abandoning his Union soldier roots and going native.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna join the natives. They're cooler than you guys. You guys are fucking assholes. Anyway, with that being said, I think so. Do you guys have a favorite Ivan Reitman movie before we move on to the next topic?
Sadly or weirdly, I think that'd be Space Jam for me.
Really? Oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's cheesy, but it's real good.
All right. Okay. Kenoshi?
I don't know. I haven't really seen a lot of his other stuff aside from his more popular stuff. Probably the Ghostbusters movie.
1 or 2?
2 is in my 2 is a lot clearer. I remember 2 a lot more than I remember 1 for some reason. I saw the first one at least twice, and then the second one I've only seen once, so I'd probably have to say 2.
All right. Ivan Reitman made a lot of my favorite films, so it's going to be hard for me to pick just one. But here, let me look at his filmography. While I do like Ghostbusters 1 and 2, I mean, I really do like Ghostbusters 1 and 2, but I'm going to have to say my favorite Ivan Reitman film, just in terms of how influential it was to other shit, I'm going to have to go with, because I'm a contrarian bastard, I'm going to have to go with Stripes.
What's that movie about?
Stripes is about these two, like in their early 30s schlubs, played by Harold Ramis and Bill Murray, who essentially decide to say fuck it and go join the military. And they essentially go through basic training and shit. And Bill Murray plays a fuck up who, like, he basically, the military straightens his ass out. And I mean, it's a comedy, but it straightens his ass out and makes him into more of a stand-up guy after trials and tribulations. And it's one of those really kind of nice comedies where it has a lot of Second City alums like Harold Ramis and John Candy and Bill Murray and shit like that. And it just, it's a comedy. It's like one of those, it's one of those unsung great 80s comedies of like the early 80s that people don't really talk about a lot, but like they should be up there with like Trading Places and Coming to America and Dr. Detroit and Stripes. Like Stripes isn't at that same level, but it's up there. And, I mean, because of that relationship that was forged between Harold Ramis and Bill Murray, they eventually went on to make Ghostbusters. So, you wouldn't have the other good shit if you hadn't had the relationship that was forged on Stripes. Like them realizing we can basically make a script and make a movie and it be a comedy and shit like that. Anyway, that's my favorite Ivan Reitman film. I like a lot of his films, but that's my personal favorite. Next, I think we'll save our Ideal Legend of Zelda game for a future show, because that could be a podcast all by itself. Cyberpunk 2077 is finally getting patched to betterment.
I was gonna say, and we started this podcast commenting about that they did make an update, though. If anything, it seems kind of tiny.
No, it's a huge update. The problem is that it just adds shit that should have been in the game anyway.
Yeah, and people are cheering, and people are like, "Yeah, finally!" It's like, no, these people shouldn't be rewarded.
Well, some people are cheering on. Some people are cheering on. Some people are like us and like, why are you congratulating yourself on shit you should have been there? No, it's not tiny. It's a huge. There's a lot of shit that it's adding, but the problem is that it's shit that should have been there in the first place.
Kind of like Destiny 2.
Yeah, kind of like Destiny 2. You know,
Sorry, I had to make that comment there.
We could say this about a lot of. Okay, it's kind of like okay. It's kind of like okay. If Nintendo were to say, "Hey guys, to the N64 emulation, we're adding the ability for people for you to go into the thing and add rumble and swap out the memory pack and shit like that." It's like that's cool, but that should have been there.
Yeah, or it's like it's like a kid trying to it's like a kid finally cleaning up his room and going to his parents. Hey, I finally cleaned up my room.
Oh, you should have done that anyway.
You should have done that anyway. We told you about 15 times to clean up your room today.
Or to paraphrase Chris Rock in his stand-up. Some guy's like, I didn't go to jail. You're not supposed to fucking go to jail. I take care of my kids. You're supposed to take care of your kids. What do you want, a fucking cookie? So that's the general principle. They're being praised by some people for shit that should have been in the game in the first place. Like the ability to buy other apartments. Like that should have been in the game in the first fucking place. Or the ability to change your hair or your fingernails or your piercings and shit. That should have been there in the first place. Like, you shouldn't be getting applause for shit you should have done in the first place. It's like someone saying, "Hey, I put my name on the top of this on the top of this test." That should have been the first thing you did in the first fucking place. So, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Yay, nay?
I think, like we said, they should have just had this out before. It shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been done right now. This should have been released. That's probably how the game should have been released.
Yeah, I think this game should have been, instead of releasing it 2 years ago or 22 months ago, I think they should have
delayed it.
Well, I think what they should have done, they should have basically said, okay, look, we're going to give people the ability to get into a closed beta, right? You sign up, you play an early build, like the build that they had that they released, okay? And then they get feedback from people who are playing that build. And then, they should have released it this year. That should have been what they should have done. Because then it would have, because the thing is, if they had delayed it, they still would have, because when you delay a game and you don't have people playing that game who are actually like playing it like a gamer would versus what a tester or a developer would play it, they're not going to see things that a gamer would see. Like, okay, case in point, I know that we skipped our Ideal Legend of Zelda game, but like Breath of the Wild, right? We can all agree that there's major fucking issues with Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But
Right.
well, I mean, like, okay, there's only 5 dungeons. 90% of the game are side quests and shrines. Nothing that you do in the game really changes the overall landscape of what's going on in the game. So your actions feel fucking meaningless, basically. Weapons break, stuff like that. Those are issues. But to the people who tested that game internally at Nintendo and the developers who made that game, they probably thought those were all really good ideas. If people who weren't in Nintendo played those games and they were part of a closed beta, they could have said, this is a bad fucking game design choice. This doesn't work. Like, because the big thing that you hear from Nintendo about Breath of the Wild, well, the reason we have weapons break is because that encourages you to go and find better weapons. But that's bullshit. Because the real gameplay loop of Breath of the Wild is you're going and finding shrines so that you can boost your stats, so that you can fight tougher enemies, so that if they hit you, you can dodge those attacks, or you have enough stamina to move around, like to boost your stats to make you more capable at doing whatever. It's not the weapons, because it basically, like, one in-game week when the Blood Moon comes out, everything restores itself. Like all the items that you can find lying around get reset. They come back again. So it's like, really, if you just sit around waiting, you can just farm shit if you wanted to. That's not really the issue. So the argument that we have to have breakable weapons to encourage people to explore, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
But like, because all of the testing was done internally, they're gonna think those are. It's kind of like the reason when you write a paper, they say you need to have other people look at it, because they're looking at it with different eyes. Because you're gonna think that shit is great. Okay, you're gonna think what you wrote was awesome. Because pretty sure we've all had to write papers, and even if you had a paper where you wrote it early, you did your 2 or 3 rough drafts, and then you put it away, and it wasn't due for another month, and like maybe for 2 weeks you didn't look at it, and then you came back and looked at what you wrote that you thought was brilliant when you put it away that first time, and you're like, I need to rewrite this. So even when you're looking at something with different eyes, just from a time perspective, you can see where things change. But if you're sitting there just focusing on one thing for a long period of time, you think what you might think is great might not be that good. But because you're so focused on it, you can't look at it critically. And that's kind of the issue where you have with Cyberpunk, is like, I don't think necessarily it would have been to their complete benefit to just delay it and not get it in the hands of players. I think they should have done an extensive closed beta outside of just people who were in the company, who had a vested interest in just putting it out as soon as they could. I think they should have gotten it in the hands of like gamers in a closed beta. Like people who play it as a gamer, closed beta people, and like legitimately giving them real feedback on what needed to be. Because like, how the fuck are you going to have a city of the future and you don't have mass transit in the city of the future? No buses, no metro, no trains. That's weird. Like, how
I was gonna say, I thought that was 101.
You would think for a city of the future you would have that. You would think for a city of the future that has like people who cybernetically augment themselves, Ghost in the Shell style, that you would have the ability to change your looks on a whim at a body sculptor. No, not in this game. They just added it. They just added it yesterday. Like, that's the shit I'm talking about. Like, they were there and they were probably like, oh, this is good enough, we got to get it out. But had gamers been playing it, they would have been like, you guys are missing a whole bunch of shit that really needs to be here.
I still say delay would have helped as well. But
Well, yeah. I'm not saying make it commercially. I'm saying it's like on top of just delaying it and working on it internally. If they had delayed it and then had like a closed beta during the delay for people who were like for gamers to play it, like a group of gamers to play it in the closed beta, so then they could get feedback on what needs to be there. Because there's, like I said, there's a lot of issues with that game.
yeah, but I was about to say that if I remember right, being a paying being paying to be a beta tester is probably the one thing you want to avoid.
A
But
closed
I
beta is
totally
free.
agree with
A closed beta is free. Like
Okay.
like people register for it and you get like they pick your name out of an algorithm. You don't pay for it unless you're a Microsoft fan, in which I mean a Sony or Microsoft fan, or a lot of these games now where you're basically a glorified beta tester like Fallout 76.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to not go into because
No, I wasn't saying
it's
you were
one thing
paying to be in the closed beta. It's they delay the game and then they basically, like a lot of games now, like Nintendo doesn't really do betas like open to the public, but like a lot of other companies they'll say we're going to launch this game this year, and then they'll send to like people who are part of their like registered with the whatever, like, hey, you want to be part of this closed beta for this game? And if you get like 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 people closed beta testing that game, that's a good sampling of like core gamers playing your game. And then they give feedback. It's like, hey, this is what's missing in this game. It needs to have like that's smart design, I think.
and if anything, this is going to go into what's coming up this weekend for a certain game that's supposed to be coming out this summer.
Yeah. The Wii Sports closed beta for their online. Well, they're probably gonna have multiple online stress tests, because I guarantee you, with the Switch being over 110 million units sold, they're probably gonna need a lot of servers if people are gonna be playing this online. They're gonna have to add a lot of new servers. So, any other thoughts you guys have about the Cyberpunk 2077 1.5 patch, where they're like, yay, they finally added shit that should have been in the game in the first fucking place. Congratulations.
I was going to at least say this to at least be nice. Progress.
Yeah, progress. I mean, you're finally where you should have been at the start of the race, but hey, congratulations. You're not starting like 20 paces behind everybody else. Good job, Cyberpunk 2077. CD Projekt Red, you threw away literally years of goodwill to get a broken game out before it was ready. Congratulations. If you guys can't tell, I'm being facetious.
I was about to say the sarcasm was as thick as a whale's body.
So we have another topic, which are the 14 best Game Boy Advance games. So I'm doing a screen share right now. Go down the list. I don't think this is like the best in any order, but these are pretty good. So here we go. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, first game.
Agreeable.
Yeah,
So really at the bottom?
No, it's not. This isn't a list of better or like best, least to best, or anything like that. It's just
Okay.
like the 14 best. That just all of them are good. All of them could be number one. The next one, Pokemon Emerald.
I'd say I could agree with that to at least some extent.
Yeah, I mean, personally, if I haven't had a choice between Emerald, Ruby, or Sapphire, I would take Emerald, because Emerald gave you like the best of both of those. Plus, you could catch Rayquaza, which was a way better legendary than Groudon or Kyogre.
Sorry, but you can actually catch all three. I mean, you could catch Rayquaza in all three games.
Yeah, but Rayquaza was like the face of Emerald versus
yeah. Yeah, I get you. I was just saying that you get what I'm saying, right? That you can catch all three, and I mean, you can catch Rayquaza in all three games, though. it's a lot easier to catch Rayquaza than the Emerald version.
Yeah. The next one, Metroid Fusion.
Oh, I could agree
That was
there.
pretty good. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Now, I mean, this is where I'm going to diverge. I like Metroid Fusion. I like Zero Mission a little bit more. It's a personal thing.
I was gonna say that's a bit of a battle of which of those two would represent Metroid for that slot.
I think Metroid Fusion is a little bit easier than Zero Mission. Zero Mission is a little bit harder, and I think Fusion has the better atmosphere. Like you being hunted down by your Sax-infested Samus suit, power suit, Varia suit. Like it turns the tables on Samus, where you get to see what it feels like to be hunted by Samus Aran, and it's fucking terrifying. And I think
especially when you know that she has ice.
Yeah, because in Fusion you've been basically infused with species
With Metroid
SR.
DNA.
Well, here's what I'm going to put on my nerd glasses. Actually, Metroid isn't the species itself. It's just people call them that, but really, Metroid is just a term by the Chozo to it's a translation, means great warrior. So actually, Samus is the Metroid. The creature, the parasites that they call Metroids are actually like species SR or something like that. I can't remember, ZR or something. I can't remember the exact term, but basically you've had your DNA overwritten with the DNA of species SR whatever. And so you have the weaknesses of those creatures, which means the various suit infected sex parasite Samus that hunts your ass down has all of your weight, has all your strength, and you have all of the weaknesses. So when she hits you with ice attacks, it's like you're fucked. The only thing you can do when you meet that parasite until the very end of the game is run. It's like, oh shit, run and hide.
Okay, that was it. I was about to say that. The only thing that you can do is basically run, hide, or try to stun her as best you can
and then run some more. Yeah, that's all you can really do. I mean, it's the Metroid Fusion is the reason why I wasn't really impressed with Metroid Dread, because basically Metroid Dread is basically taking the idea behind Metroid Fusion, which made you being hunted down by the Sax parasite infested Varia power suit. And it kind of trivialized it because they're like, well, we've got Emmy robots. So instead of it, you just being hunted down by this suit, it's like 6 robots chasing you down, and it doesn't have the same impact because it's there's too many, first of all, and it just kind of, they only chase you in certain areas. It's just kind of like, whatever.
I was about to say that it's not too terrible, but it makes getting around certain places a lot more difficult.
I mean, yeah, until you get the right ability, and then it's like, whatever. Like you can, like once you figure, like that's where I'm kind of like Metroid Fusion doesn't really, like I would swap out Metroid Fusion for Zero Mission because Fusion, like parts of Fusion are a little too easy. Like even on the harder difficulties, it gets like once you figure out enemy patterns and like the way to defeat certain bosses, it's like this is a little too easy. But that's me.
That's the funny thing. It has, even when I try to amp up the difficulty, it kind of is a struggle for me to pick between the two.
Yeah. Next game, Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland.
Iffy to no.
What, the remake for Nightmare in Dreamland?
Yeah. Which is weird.
I mean, I like Nightmare in Dreamland. I wouldn't put it on this list. I wouldn't put it on this list. I think that the one that has you that has the mirror world is a better game, but that's just me.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That for Kirby, I would say the Amazing Mirror is probably the better of the choices.
Yeah. Next game, Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced.
I strongly agree.
Kenoshi, you have any thoughts?
Final Fantasy. I've never played that one, so I don't have any
Oh,
thoughts on that
okay.
one.
Well, it's basically Final Fantasy Tactics, except less dark of a story. Like
And
if you,
a lot more playable. You
well, I
don't get
mean,
boss stomped.
they're both play. I mean, all of the Final Fantasy Tactics games are playable, but Advanced is more approachable. The difficulty curve is a lot less steep.
I was
Um,
gonna say that when the first boss came for me on Final Fantasy Tactics, when I played on the PlayStation, I even when I tried to level up as best I could, I still got stomped.
Yeah, well, I mean, the strength. Final Fantasy Tactics and the advanced games have this more as well. Like, it's not so much leveling up; it's mastering abilities and like job class synchronicity and ability synchronicity and shit like that. It's not so much leveling up because, like, if you level up and you basically haven't really been mastering different job classes and getting abilities that sync together properly.
That's what I usually do with leveling up. Like
Yeah.
try to ensure that my skills are leveled up and the powers I got are leveled up.
Okay.
At least
Then okay.
match it up.
Then I guess that was your experience. Then I didn't really have that with tactics on the PlayStation. My only issue with tactics on the PlayStation was that the story was a little too dark, and the difficulty curve was a little too steep. Um, like I think Advanced and Advanced Two kind of
Made
are,
it a lot more workable.
yeah, they're more approachable. And by the time you get to the point where you're creating broken job class builds from all the jobs you've mastered, like you're far enough in the game to where that's viable and appropriate because like you've gotten to that point. Like I think that tactics just kind of the difficulty curve is too much for the one on PlayStation. I think A2 is a better game, but I think that we're talking about A2 is on the DS and this is on the
Game Boy.
the Game Boy Advance. So yeah, it's a great game. Next game, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow.
What do you think about that game?
Tricky, but I think I could agree on that.
Yeah, I think Aria of Sorrow is the best Game Boy Advance Castlevania game. I like it better than Harmony of Dissonance, and I like it better than Circle of the Moon. I think RF because personally, I'm glad that RF Sorrow got away from the typical tropes that we saw in Harmony of Dissonance and Circle of the Moon, where it's like I'm fighting my way through the castle to fight Dracula, and my character has a whip, etc., etc. Um, like I liked RF Sorrow took place in the future, and like it
That you are in a sense Dracula, but
well, I mean that you don't find that until you move further into the game. That's spoilers. but
I'm sorry.
it's kind of interesting. Like it does a lot of tropes that really kind of it does an inversion of the standard things that people might like from a 2D Castlevania game, and it does it better. And I'm going to say something really controversial. I think Aria of Sorrow is better than Symphony of the Night. Yeah, I said it. I said it.
That's a weird claim there.
Yeah, because Aria of Sorrow doesn't have as cryptic of special requirements in order to get the best ending. Whereas Symphony of the Night, there's literally like they don't tell you that there's an entire another castle you have to go through in order to get the best ending. They don't. So you beat the game, you're like, yeah, I beat the game. Oh wait, I only completed like 43% of the game. They don't tell you.
And then they give you the second castle.
No, they don't even like. It's just like you beat the game. You like this is before we had FAQs. So you're like, why? How the fuck did I only complete 43.1% of this game? And then you find out from people who play who really 100% of the game or got close to it. They're like, oh no, there's another reverse castle that you have to go. It's like, how the fuck was I supposed to know that? They don't even tell you. That's kind of the problem with Symphony of the Night to me. It's a little too cryptic with some of the gameplay mechanics. Some of the gameplay mechanics. Next game, Advance Wars.
Jen Hut, that's a yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't help with that line.
No, I'd be cool with it. If this game does well, hopefully they will do a remake of Battalion Wars, which was the GameCube game that was based on Advance Wars that had like real time strategy a little bit, where you could basically move your units around in a certain area and then shoot people and shit. It was kind of cool. I liked it.
Anyway,
WarioWare Twisted.
Is that a mini game collection?
Yeah, it's a mini game collection. I don't like WarioWare games. I'm one of those people. I've never liked WarioWare.
I like the Wario game on the Game Boy Color and stuff, but I don't like the Wario. I don't like the mini game stuff.
Yeah, the WarioWare. I like the first
original
WarioWare, and that's it. I like the first WarioWare, and that's it. Like I didn't like the later one. You know.
yeah,
Because it's just a collection of mini games, and I'm like,
I was about to say that I stick with the original WarioWare. Though, if anything, I at least appreciate the other WarioWares.
I mean, I appreciate how they use peripherals and the mini games, but I'm like, I would rather have like a 2D platformer Wario game than a WarioWare mini game collection. Like, I'm just tired of mini game collections. Next game, Bit Generations Colors. Never heard of it.
Same.
The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap.
I say yes, though
That
it's
one's decent.
though it's mixed with me with the Four Swords version of Link to the Past.
Yeah, I don't like that version. Because I don't like the Four Swords, the shit they added to it. I didn't like it. I didn't like how they added Link's voice to it while you're playing.
Yeah,
I didn't like that. I was like, I don't like this. There was that time when Nintendo would like do a remake and then add weird shit to it. I'm like, don't do that.
Your mileage may vary.
I just personally I didn't like it. I know some people did. I'm not one of them. I liked what was it called? Minish Cap. Like I thought Minish Cap was great. I didn't like some of the Link features they added. Like I didn't like the Kin Stones. I didn't like. I thought Vaati in this game is the hardest final boss I have ever played in a Legend of Zelda, in a top-down 2D Legend of Zelda game.
Wow.
Oh, he's annoying.
He's a son of a bitch in Minish Cap. Like every other boss in a 2D Legend of Zelda game, I can kick their fucking ass. Vaati in this game, one of the toughest bosses I have ever faced in a 2D Legend of Zelda game ever. And I know this wasn't made by Nintendo proper, it was made by Capcom, but I kicked the shit out of the two bosses in Oracle of Ages of Seasons, and the mindless Rage Ganon version if you beat the either of those games the third time, the second time with the code. No problem. And those were made by the same team. This game has a hard final boss. Unnecessarily hard. I also don't like the fact that the whole game is just telling how Link got his stupid little hat. I don't like that.
It's a weird thing.
It's like, you made a game to tell us how he got his stupid little hat? You're fucking stupid. Just to me, that's just kind of stupid. Astro Boy, Omega Factor.
Never played.
Oh man, you're missing out. It's a really good game. It's what I like to call a great, it's one of those, Astro Boy Omega, you know how The Messenger starts out as like a linear kind of like old school Castlevania Ninja Gaiden style game, and then once you get to a certain point, it turns into a Metroidvania?
I heard. I think I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, this game does the same thing. Like it like when you're first playing it, it's like a 2D beat 'em up, except you're playing as Astro Boy. And then at a certain point in the game, you get to the end and you're like, you get this shitty ending, and it's like, oh no! But then you keep on playing, you realize, oh, this character pops up and he's like, hey, I'm gonna send you back in time so you can fix the timeline and get a really good ending. So then you can go back in time and recruit characters to change events during the course of the game. so that you can get the best ending, opening up alternate branches that can lead to better outcomes. So it's like the game has astonishing depth to it, and it's a great licensed property. And even though it's called Astro Boy Omega Factor, it's really a send up of all Tezuka Takashi's work, because you wind up recruiting other characters from his work, like Blackjack and other characters that Tezuka Takashi created. It's actually really fucking amazing. It's really good. Next,
I'll have to look into it.
yeah, Drill Dozer. Or sorry, Mr. Driller 2.
Weird title by Hurt was pretty good.
Okay. The next game, Drill Dozer. Now, this game was made by Intelligent Systems when they were actually doing something different aside from constantly fucking re-releasing Pokemon. And it's actually really good. I actually had this game. I liked it. And it was really good. And it used the Rumble Pack, the built-in Rumble Pack. And it actually was a really good game. The only downside was that like in each stage you had to find these gears to level up your ability, like your Drill Dozer mech. And like once you beat the level and found all the bits and pieces, you go to the next level and you had to start from scratch. So every level was like, okay, let me find all the gears so I can finally use my drill properly. Okay, let me fight these enemies. Like it was one of those things where you're constantly starting each level from zero and have to build yourself up, which I don't like in games. But aside from that, it's a pretty good game.
I was about to say that's worse than some Metroidvania games.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a gameplay mechanic that worked well in the game, but it's just a personal pet peeve that I don't like in games, even though it worked in this game, but I don't like it. Pokemon Pinball, Ruby and Sapphire.
I'm
Was that
trying
the
not
was
to
that
drown.
the was that the game with like the special
Rumble Pack?
cartridge? Yeah.
It probably had a special cartridge. I don't know about a Rumble Pack.
Yeah.
I don't like video game pinball games based on other shit. Like there's only one. There are only two video game pinball games that I like that are like on a console, and those are Devil's Crush and Alien Crush. Aside from that, I don't give a fuck about Pokemon Pinball or Sonic Spinball or that Mario game that was a pinball game. I don't like
Oh God.
I don't like pinball games based on other shit. I don't like it.
I felt that was too not Pokemon to me. Sorry.
No, I just don't like pinball games based on other shit. I don't on other video games. Because like it's like the time they spent to make Pokemon Pinball, they could have released another Pokemon game. Or done a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon or some shit, which I would have liked better. So I don't like this.
Yeah, and as I said, I felt like that was way too not Pokemon to me.
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, I would say overall, like I would say 8 of the games on this list I agree with. The other 6 I don't. So, but overall, it's a pretty good list.
I think we're near the same number.
Yeah. So with that being said, let's move on to the next topic. Okay, we got enough time to do this. Our final well, no, we don't. Let's because we basically have to talk about the 4th or 5th gen game we would like to see remastered. And that's a total another that would take like 20-30 minutes, and we're at the 10-minute mark before we get to 9 o'clock. And I want to end on a timely, because I know you guys have stuff you want to do. So instead we'll do unpopular opinion. So I'm sure all of us have some type of unpopular opinion that we want to get off our chest in terms of gaming. So the floor is yours.
I'm likely gonna be hated for this a little bit, but for those people that are going into this new MMO game, I wish you the best of luck, because I could see that you guys are likely gonna try to rush through with your credit cards rather than play through the game properly. And I wish that you guys that use your credit cards instead of play the game properly a middle finger.
What game are you talking about?
Lost Ark.
Oh,
Yeah, the new MMO.
well, the thing is, right? The thing is, right? So you can buy stuff, but like, for example, I got the Gold Founders Edition. There's only stuff you can use if you're at a certain level, though. So it's like, yeah, you can buy it, but if you're not at a certain level, you can't you can't use it.
Yeah.
So it's not like
Reason why I said that if you buy your way to get to a certain level instead of work to it, you're kind of skipping the content.
I
I don't
mean,
even think you can. I don't even think you can necessarily buy your way to a higher level. I mean, yeah, you can speed up, certain things like gear and stuff, but I don't think you can just buy your way to level 99.
I mean,
I think 50 is the level cap, and after that, you have to focus on you know, customizing your gear and stuff to go beyond,
yeah.
your level cap. But yeah,
Here's what I think. I think that Cyberpunk 2070s, it's not Cyberpunk. I think that Lost Ark, if Lost Ark is lucky, it will be more like Path of Exile, which is a amazing game that is free to play and isn't too egregious with its microtransactions and has PvP and MMO like qualities as well. Great single player, great multiplayer. Or at least a functional multiplayer, because I think most people play it for the single player content. So knock on wood, the people who want that itch scratched, they'll get it. I haven't played it because I just don't have the energy to invest. I have the time, I don't have the energy to invest into another MMO.
yeah, understandable.
It's like I'm getting ready to start a new character in SWOTOR after the update. So it's like one of those things where I'm just like, I don't really. I'm just gonna. I don't want to. I don't want to jump into another MMO. But hey,
how's that game? Are they still support it? I take it they're still supporting it. Stuff
yeah.
like that.
I mean, they just came out with a new patch that overhauled it so you can actually mix and match styles instead of like I'm a smuggler, so I can only use guns or shotguns. So it's been overhauled a little bit. Now you can mix and match. Like if you're a character if you're a character who doesn't use the force, you can be a smuggler who uses a blaster rifle, who uses like heavy stuff. Like you can switch your styles, and it's like I haven't jumped into it yet, but that's what I heard from the public test server and what they're overhauling. I haven't gotten into it yet because it's like I'm deciding if I want to start a new character or continue with one of the characters I have. They raised the level cap from 75 to 80. All my characters are level 75, so it's like now I got to start grinding again. But each of my characters have a stockpile of extra experience growth patches. So I don't know. Kenoshi, your unpopular opinion.
So I was on another server. They were watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure,
Uh-huh.
and well, I think the show is interesting. I'm not too big of a fan of the art style, but that's just me. I don't know. I think
Yeah, the art style looks like Fist of the North Star.
it looks like kind of a combination of anime and like modern Western comic books. Not a huge fan. I don't think it's bad. I'm just not a huge fan of it.
All right. Guess I'll give my opinion. Here's my unpopular opinion, and it's gonna be about The Legend of Zelda. And I'm gonna stand by it because I want to say it. I think that Breath of the Wild is a really great beta for a much better game that we'll probably get in Breath of the Wild 2. I think Breath of the Wild is one of the best. Breath of the Wild is one of the best gambits that Nintendo's ever pulled on their fan base of Zelda fans, because like you play that game and there's so much shit that's missing. Dungeons and fucking like weapons breaking and like, I mean, okay, fine. You want to have a weapon breaking mechanic? Cool. But can we at least have the ability to repair our weapons that break? No? Okay.
Yeah, I was, I mean, if they do something like that, kind of hoping they go the dark cloud route where your weapons become like your party members, where you just upgrade them over time, and you can repair them and make them stronger and stuff like that. I
I
mean,
mean,
you can still encourage people to explore because they want to have the ability to make their weapons stronger.
I, I mean, I was giving some thought to this unpopular opinion. I've probably voiced this before, but it bears repeating. In my opinion, I think they could fix this in the next game. They probably won't do this because Nintendo, they do whatever the fuck they want. I think it would be cool if they had a weapon, like a weapon status system where it's like different weapons had a different status, like like the way they were crafted or the state they were in when you found them. So like, if you find like a worn weapon, of course it's gonna break. It's worn. If you find a rusted weapon, of course it's gonna be a piece of shit. It's rusted. But if you find like a well-crafted weapon or a master-crafted weapon or a legendary weapon, that shit's not gonna break in the middle of a fight. Like, I don't think that wasn't a good gameplay mechanic to me, and that's kind of the thing that I kind of did not enjoy about that game. I also don't like the fact that they basically give you every ability that you need in order to beat the game, like by the time you leave the Great Plateau. Like, I don't that's not fun to me. The joy of Legend of Zelda to me is you riding or walking around the overworld and seeing an area that you can't get to or something you can't interact with, and you like basically keeping in your mind, okay, like I'm gonna need an ability to get to that area or interact with that item that I don't have yet. But when I have it, it's gonna open up an entirely new area for me to explore or things to do. And that's kind of missing in Breath of the Wild. Because every ability you need in order to get anywhere in the game, you have by the time you leave the Great Plateau. It kind of breaks the fun of traversing and becoming more powerful. Because the only thing you have left is, okay, well, I can find slightly better weapons, and I can fight enemies who get progressively more powerful, and that's it. And it's like, combat was never the strong point of Legend of Zelda games. Because most of the time, if you're playing the 2D games, you were just button mashing. And if you're playing the 3D games, you were just basically dodging attacks and then jumping in and stabbing someone. It wasn't like the deepest combat. And that's okay. So yeah, my unpopular opinion is that the Breath of the Wild isn't really like the people, like you go on these websites, it's like a 10 out of 10, it's the best game of all time. I'm like, for real? Okay.
I was about to say that as far as being different, I will give Breath of the Wild that.
It's different, yeah, but I don't necessarily different. Look, there's different types of different. There's good different, and then there's different just for the sake of being different, and then there's bad different. And I think that a lot of the changes they made in Breath of the Wild weren't necessarily better. Like, because
probably put it in different for being different.
Yeah, well, the things that people praise Breath of the Wild for, they're like, well, I love the openness and how you can go anywhere. There's other games that came out before Breath of the Wild that do the same thing and do it better than Breath of the Wild does. Like, are you giving that praise to this game because you really were looking forward to a new Legend of Zelda game? Like, like someone who hasn't had sex in 10 years and they finally get some and they think it's the best ever, even if it's mediocre? Or are you saying that this is legitimately a good gameplay design? Because there's aspects of Breath of the Wild where I'm like, this is just terrible gameplay design. It's just not very well made. But that's my unpopular opinion. I know some people will disagree.
I would say I could add one more to that line. And if anything, I would like to get dogpiled on, but hey, 3D is worse than 2D Legend of Zelda's.
I mean, that's where I'm going to say that's
I called
subjective.
it.
No, that's subjective because there's Zelda 2, Link's Adventure, The Adventure of Link, or Link's Adventure, Zelda 3, which arguably is like, I mean, Zelda 3 is like one of my favorite Legend of Zelda games of all time. It definitely goes on the GOAT list. Then they went to the handheld Zeldas, Link's Awakening, which I put a little bit below Legend of Zelda 3. Like, then you get the two Oracle games, which they're not terrible, but they aren't like, I would put the two Oracle games under like Link's Awakening, and I'd put both of those below Link's Awakening. I would put them a little bit above Minish Cap because Minish Cap's difficulty spikes at the very end a little bit too much to put it like on the same level as those previous two games. Then you have Link Between Worlds, which, I mean, then you have the two ones that, the two ones that take place in the alternate timeline after Wind Waker. And I think those ones are bad. Like, I don't like controlling Link with a stylus.
Oh, the Phantom Hourglass and the train.
Yeah, in Spirit Tracks. I don't like those games. Like, I've never liked those games. I played them, I beat them, I was like, I never need to play this again. What? Who the fuck thought it was a good idea to have a Legend of Zelda game with stylus controls? Whoever thought that was a good idea needs to get punched in the face. Yeah, those games are not great to me. And I've never I would put those way down on the list. And then you have Link Between Worlds, which, I mean, like Nintendo wanted that game to be a worthy successor to Link to the Past. It is not.
It is.
It is not.
Is.
They tried. It is not.
Is.
It is not.
Is.
It is
what
not.
Game?
Is.
Link Between Worlds.
Oh.
Okay. The reason I'm going to say for me it is not a worthy successor to a Link to the Past, because if you're going to make a successor to Link to the Past, you have to capture a similar feel and gameplay progression from Link to the Past. It doesn't work. Like, that gameplay progression doesn't work when you can basically get everything you need to complete any dungeon in the first, like when you go to the pawn shop and start buying shit. Or sorry, renting it, and then you make enough money to buy it. It breaks the progression, so you don't have that. Yuga is a dollar store version of Ganon. He's not as cool as Ganon. Basically, Link Between Worlds feels like they're aping their greatest hits, but it's not as good. It's like, oh, so you basically remade the previous movie before, but with a shittier script and shittier actors.
If it helps, the Yuga is the one that is one of the most annoying villains that I ever met, because they like to slip into paintings and try to mess with your head, trying to keep on hitting them.
I mean,
and then they revived the shell of Ganondorf, which was total because of what happened during the Oracle games.
Yeah, the idea behind Link Between Worlds is really good. The execution is where it falls apart. Like, the whole, you don't actually go into dungeons to find these items, except for like two, like the special ore that you can find in the Thieves' Den to upgrade your sword, and I think the other MacGuffin that you can find in one of the other dungeons. Like, that kind of breaks the progression. And like I said, Yuga as the villain is just like, he's like a shitty version of Ganon. he's shitty Ganon. And I'm just like, like Link Between Worlds feels like a bad, it feels like someone who really liked Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, and then like someone came in and said, you can't do a 1-for-1 redo of Link to the Past. you got to add these new elements, and it just doesn't really work for me. So for me, that is not now. It's not down there with like the Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass, but it's definitely not on the same tier. Like, it's not on the same tier as Link to the Past. I would put it down there with for me, I would put it down there above Minish Cap and with Oracle of Ages and Seasons. It's not terrible, but it's not Link to the Past good. Like I said, Link to the Past is like the Chrono Trigger of the Legend of Zelda series. You got to be really fucking good to be better than Chrono Trigger. And I haven't seen an RPG that's better than Chrono Trigger, or even at the same level. And Link Between Worlds ain't that good. It's not Link to the Past good. I'm sorry, it's not. And that's it. Those are all the 2D Legend of Zelda games. I mean, we're not going to do the Zelda CDI games because those games are fucking...
I was about to say, that's a unanimous no.
We're not going to include those because those are all shit. And they weren't made by Nintendo, or like Nintendo had no input on those games. So those are it. Those are all the Legend of Zelda games. We have one game that is like an A, a solid A, Link to the Past. Then you got below that like a B plus. You've got
that's a swarm of them.
Link's Awakening. Now, Link's Awakening is a B plus by itself. A solid B minus is Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, Link Between Worlds. C, you've got Minish Cap. D, you've got Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass. And that's it. For me. Like, the Phantom Hourglass and... What?
I said okay because if anything, I could at least agree with you on Spirit Tracks and the Phantom Hourglass not being good games.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, this was around that time where Nintendo's like, we have a gimmick and we have to fucking force this gimmick into every fucking game we make, even if it doesn't make sense for the gimmick to be there. Like, who the fuck wanted to control a Legend of Zelda game with a fucking stylus? Oh, God. Whoever thought that was a good idea, they need to get punched in the face.
I was about to say, whoever thought that Diddy Kong Racing needed the stylus for...
They need to get punched in the face. It fucks up the game. It's like, why would you fuck up... This didn't need to have this. Why would you do this? Never mind. But then you have to compare that. You've got like 1A, a B plus, a B, like 2 B minuses, 2 C's. No, 1 C and 2 D's. But then you got to compare that to the 3D Legend of Zeldas. You've got Ocarina of Time, which I feel is overrated. I think that's a C plus game. C plus game. You know, depending on how I feel. Like, when I first played it, I was like, oh, it's great. But in hindsight, you know, taking a critical look at it and analyzing it, it's a C plus game. Because all Ocarina of Time is just a 3D version of Link to the Past. Except... with less dungeons, and the light side version of the gameplay sucks because no one wants to play as Kid Link. Kid Link sucks in Ocarina of Time. It's a fucking waste. Yeah, I said it. And then you get Majora's Mask, which is in every way, shape, or form a better game than Ocarina of Time, except for one small problem. It's got even less dungeons than Ocarina of Time.
And if anything, the rewind of time is not going to help.
I mean, if you can get over the lack of dungeons, like if you can get over the lack of dungeons, I would put it at a B plus. With the lack of dungeons, it's the same grade as Ocarina of Time. They're both C plus games. But then you got to go to Wind Waker. Wind Waker's fucking amazing. And when it first came out, I hated that game because I was like, man, this kiddie shit. Then I played it again, and I was like later on, like on my GameCube, I was like, it was on sale for like $20 used at EB Games. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna play it. And I played it, and I'm like, this game's fucking amazing. So I give that a B. I give that a solid B. It's a solid B. Then there's Twilight Princess. Now, for me, Twilight Princess is an A. The
Which
reason
is kind of funny because most people actually was thinking, what was it? Oh yeah, the Wind Wakers, and
no, I give Wind Waker a B because Wind Waker has issues as well because there's several dungeons that are missing in that game.
That ocean quest.
Yeah, there's several dungeons that are missing in Wind Waker that should be there that they don't like the water dungeon to get the ocean pearl completely missing. You just get it handed to you. And there's several other things that could have been dungeons that instead you have to do that shitty Triumph's Forks quest and fishing and shit, which is just dumb. So I mean, Wind Waker has some glaring issues as well, but they aren't like once you get past that, there's some good. The good shit outweighs the annoyances in Wind Waker. Twilight Princess, on the other hand, for me, is like everything that they tried to do in Ocarina of Time that just didn't work. They nail in Twilight Princess. Like Twilight Princess is, hey, you like Ocarina of Time, but you realize that it's kind of sucks. Well, this is a better Ocarina of Time. There you go. You know, like Ocarina of Time as it should have been had they had the technology to make it that way. Twilight Princess. That's all it really is. And like for one thing, like the quote unquote less powerful version of Link is actually badass. Wolf Link is just as capable as human form Link. So it's not like you have one form you prefer over the other, because Kid Link sucks in Ocarina of Time. In all of his forms, he sucks. Okay? All the dungeons you do as Kid Link are fucking annoying because you're a kid. You don't have any good weapons. Your health sucks. Your inventory sucks. Just Kid Link sucks. Kid Link is a shitty contrivance to depower your character. That's all it is. You know? Yeah. And for those of you who disagree with me, think about it like this, okay? You know how hard the dungeon at the bottom of the well is as a kid? And then think about how easy it would have been if you were adult Link with the Master Sword or the Bigoron Sword fighting those enemies. It wouldn't even be, it'd be like, yeah, fuck you. Oh, it's Re-Dead. Oh, it's Dead Hand. Yeah, fuck you. You're dead. Would have been no problem as adult Link. Kid Link, that dungeon's legitimately hard in some places. Adult Link, man, fuck this shit. They made it unnecessarily difficult because they wanted you to feel that sense of powerlessness. And it's just not, it's not well implemented. So yeah, Twilight Princess basically is the superior Ocarina of Time, in my opinion. Then you have Skyward Sword, which I'm going to give a C to. I don't think that's a very good game.
No,
I was going to say it. I was going to say that you think it's full of hot air.
No. My issue with Skyward Sword is Skyward Sword is a good idea. Poorly executed. Like, there's so many things playing Skyward Sword where I'm like, if they hadn't wanted to add fucking motion control plus to this, they would have had time to have more islands that you could explore. Island dungeons that you could have explored. Different areas to explore instead of you going back to the same areas and, oh, now I can go down this path and it opens up to a new area. It's just a lot of compromises they made to get that game out. So that because they were busy fucking working on motion control plus. And that kind of tears that game down a little bit for me. It like shit that could have been in that game. And I also fuck Fee. Fee is a more annoying character than Navi ever would have been.
Which I have to be surprised about.
Navi's bad, but Navi's just like, hey, look, listen. Fee has entire fucking like Navi never interrupted the fight to tell you to recalibrate your motion control plus. That's what Fee does. It's like, you bitch. Also, and then you make this annoying bitch the Master Sword? Fuck you, Nintendo. Yeah, I said it.
If it helps, at least she's quiet with he becomes that.
I could have pulled. I have read fan fiction for the Source of the Master Sword that's better than that shit we got in Skyward Sword, and I stand by it. Okay.
I was thinking that you. I was thinking that you actually want to swing the sword wildly to make sure she never comes back.
No, I just think Skyward Sword is just Skyward Sword is just so much potential. What makes Skyward Sword worse for me and what makes me angrier is it had so much potential and it was squandered because they were busy getting it to work with fucking Wii Motion Plus. And it's just sad. And then you get Breath of the Wild, which is another C. I mean, that's all it is. It's another C. It's not an A, not a B. It's a C. So that is we'll compare. We'll do the averages. Let's see. Link to the Past is a 95. That's a solid A plus. An 89. That's a solid B for the first two games. I'll add those together. They're both plus an 89. So that's two B's. I didn't dock the Adventure of Link down, even though there are parts of that game that are very poorly designed. I give it I grade it on a curve because of it's only the second game in the series and they were trying something new. Then you do Link's Awakening, which is another both of those are like barely B's. Like Link's Awakening and or not Link's Awakening. The first Legend of Zelda is barely a B. I know a lot of people love that game, but a lot of it is very cryptic, and you don't know where the fuck to go. Like you need a walkthrough for that game these days, unless you've played it before and you know where the fuck you're going. You'd miss shit. And then you add, the handheld Legend of Zeldas. No, I already added the two. Let's see. The two handheld Legend of Zeldas plus Minish Cap, which is a C, I give that an 80. And then the two Ds that are actually the three Ds that are Spirit. I'll give another C for Link Between Worlds, which is I give it an 80. Plus the two C's for the two D's for Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass. Those are 77. Those are 75% games right there. So that's those are. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Divided by 9? So that's 654 divided by 9. So boy, I hate to break this to you, but the 2D Legend of Zelda games have a score of 72.6 in perpetuity, repeating decimal percent. So I'm gonna round that up to 73. That's not good. That is not good at all. That is, oh boy. Let's grade the let's grade the 3D games. Ocarina of Time is a C, so that's that's a that's an 80. Plus Majora's Mask, which is another 80. Plus Wind Waker, which is a solid B, so that's like an 85. Yeah, 80. Yeah, I'll give it an 87. 87 plus Twilight Princess, which I'm giving it a solid A. I'm saying Twilight Princess is a solid A, so I'm gonna give it a 95 plus Skyward Sword, which is a C. So I'm gonna give that a I'm gonna give that a shit. I'm gonna give that a 80. Plus Breath of the Wild, which I'm gonna give a C as well. And we'll divide all that by 6. No, I'm sorry. Actually, the averages bear it out. The 2D Legend of Zelda games, score-wise, have a score of 72. Well, round that up, 73, which is a D. Whereas the 3D games, because there's less 3D games, so it's like the scores are more, and there's nothing that drops to a D for, they only have one D. They only have one D for the score, which leads it to 84. That's still like a that's still like that's still like a C. That's still like a low. That's still like a high C. That's like a C. That's a solid C. So, yeah. I guess that's why people love the 3D game so much. I guess they're scored a little bit better. I don't know. Anyway, that's the end of the cast. Anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
I say nothing right now.
All right, Kenoshi.
No, nothing.
All right.
So if anything, join us next time, which is going to be Saturday, for another episode of the BS Busters. Or if you're patient enough, wait until Tuesday for the Project Console podcast.
Actually, this Saturday is your birthday cast. Or have you forgotten?
I was never saying it because if anything, I thought it'd be a surprise.
No, we gotta let people know. You have a birthday cast where you get to choose the topics, and you can put them in the chat and all that type of stuff, so people know ahead of time. Well, we know ahead of time, so we're not like coming in here all in the dark. But that's going to be interesting. So yeah. So Saturday's cast is going to be a little different on the channel, and don't forget, once again, Kenoshi has his Project Console every Tuesday, 7:30 to 9 o'clock. But that's in the cast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace, and
don't forget to type responsibly.
Good night.